Hi, Craig.
Hello.
Got to start building that catalog back up again.
Yeah, because somebody was lazy and burnt out.
Somebody was very wiped last week. Oh,
Well, maybe you
Be-
should just get a bidet.
you know, not a bad idea. Anyways, cooking story.
Okay,
Give me a
so,
cooking story.
all right, so typically during the week, uh, I have a couple lazy days built in for cooking. One Wednesday after podcast recording night, obviously, and the other one is Monday, which is after mandate night. After we go off, be manly, drive trucks, do
Right.
manly things.
Absolutely. Extremely manly.
Well, I guess I should go back a little bit further and say that Anita's gotten more of a interest in cooking since we've been together. I mean, she's not up to hobbyist level like I am for some stuff. She's not going to sit and read about how to make good pizza dough as in an entire book about pizza like I am, but she has gotten more comfortable and wanting to branch out more. But she could only really do it on the weekend, and yeah. So part of that is getting, you know, not quite hamburger helper, but kind of the next level up of, you know, box skillet meals,
Yeah.
to try to get more comfortable, uh, like chopping up chicken and that sort of thing. Which she's also kind of, I don't want to say scared of my knives because that's the wrong word, but she grew up with her mom, who thinks the sharpest knife in the house should be a butter knife.
Right. That probably isn't gonna do very good for most kitchen
Mhm.
applications.
So her knife skills are, yeah, she doesn't feel too comfortable yet. She's getting there, but in working on it, but at the same time doesn't have a ton of time during the school year. Yeah. So we got a couple weeks ago a box of chicken. It wasn't fettuccine. It was the little bow tie pastas from Michelli.
Oh, I don't know. I can Google it.
Uh,
Bow
well,
tie pasta. Farfalli? Farfalli. I don't know how to pronounce that.
anyway, uh, uh, essentially chicken bow tie pasta Alfredo. Yeah, a
Okay.
box of uh, honestly for per ounce expensive dried pasta with a mix in it that you mixed with chicken and milk, and if you're feeling very fancy, spinach, and make a quick just one skillet meal. Maybe uh, have an additional plate because the for this particular one they say, okay, now cook the chicken through, then set it to the side, then do everything else, then add the chicken at the end. Right. When
Yeah.
don't really need to do that, but all right. So fine. Uh, she didn't feel like cooking over the weekend, and we just had kind of a lazy weekend. And it was just sitting there on the kitchen counter. Monday, yesterday comes around. It's like, yeah, fuck it, I'll make that because I wasn't wanting to make anything particularly complex. So I'll make that. I'll add some of the diced tomato that's left over in the fridge from taco pizza night, and yeah, uh, use up the spinach and have a good time. So I'm getting everything prepped. Already have the chicken cut up, and I was, getting everything in its place. Open up the box of pasta. There's pasta, no sauce packet.
Hmm.
it They had a manufacturing error, and it was literally just a very very small box of pasta. And I'm just sitting there thinking, okay, am I just sleep addled, tired? Am I missing it? Is this like seasoned pasta? Because yeah, that's also a thing. So I dump it onto a bowl and look, no seasoning on it. It's plain pasta. There's no packet buried in the box, unless it's invisible.
They painted it clear so you can't, to hide it.
So had a oh crap, what do I do? Moment. And yeah, this is 3 o'clock, and we typically have dinner at 4-ish. Well, I should say it was more like 3:30 at this point because got the chicken all set, ready to go. Got out the wok, got it nice and hot, and no sauce. Thankfully, I did have a jar of Alfredo sauce, so it's like okay, sub in Alfredo packet with Alfredo sauce, and start trying to put away everything that I have set out and measured out already. Because don't need milk for this because right?
Yeah.
And I just kind of just laughed at the fact that this was a couple dollars for essentially a box of pasta that's a quarter of the size or a quarter of the amount of the box of pasta that I had to supplement with for that I get for like $1, right?
Yeah. Pasta is extremely cheap.
Unless you buy it in a kit like that, right?
True, but then you're paying inflated prices for the pasta plus the other stuff that's a part of the kit.
And it was more. It wasn't a crazy, uh, gourmet meal thrown together with like half a moldy onion and some amazing feat of culinary skill. It's more the fact that I'm really glad that Nita didn't try to make this and we were lazy over the weekend because I could only imagine the string of cuss words coming out of her mouth. But wait, right?
Yeah, that would be hilarious. I had a tiny cooking mishap, but it was like for me, as like, oh no, much shame, and like nobody else noticed. I made steak tips Alfredo for dinner last night, or no, yeah, last night. Last night was Monday night, and
okay. Sorry, I had to go hunt it down. It was chicken Florentine Alfredo, and it's like $2.50.
right.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. So, I mean, my intent was to cook the steak somewhere between medium rare to maybe medium, and I accidentally cooked it about medium well. I was like, oh no, I overcooked the steak. And I mean, it was still delicious and tender.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone was like, wow, it's so fucking good. Raw. And in my head, I'm like, no, guys, I didn't cook it. I didn't get it quite right. I slightly overcooked the meat.
Mm-hmm.
That was my cooking mishap. No funny error of buying an overpriced box of pasta.
Yeah,
I did have Alfredo. I did doctor up some jarred Alfredo sauce though, because like I was going through like what do we have, like what do we need to use before it goes bad, and there were some jars of Alfredo and some old pasta, and I'm like, well shit, dude, I can make dinner with what we've got in the pantry in the freezer, not have to buy anything. And I mean, jarred Alfredo is fine.
Yeah.
But after you've had, after you've made homemade several times and can just do it way better, you got to doctor it up at least a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, well, this was already doctored up with, an entire bag's worth of spinach, wilted down, some tomato, and a little bit of MSG because, right?
Absolutely. Sodium glutamate is the best.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I actually got the prices. So I get the pound of pasta I get. The particular brand's $1.79 versus a whole 6.38 ounces of pasta. Right? That's like a single portion, right?
Yeah.
At least for our fat asses.
Maybe like a small portion for my fat ass.
Mm-hmm. It was just. Yeah. Did have my triumph of pizza day though. So, all right.
I'm very excited. I'm going to do pizza day myself, either next week or in 2 weeks.
Yeah, using the recipe I showed you.
Yep.
Yeah, just make sure that you grease those bowls really well, or whatever you use to cold ferment, because If you don't, they will be rather sticky.
Gotta grease them up.
Hmm. Yeah, grease them up like the aliens did in your story.
Aw, yeah. Um, so looking at the news topics, I picked two of the Microsoft ones. The one where that Microsoft patent license physical games for digital devices, and Microsoft teams up with Eve for spreadsheets in space. I picked the Square Enix one, which because of have to, and then EA and FIFA breakup. Did you have other news topics? Like I know there's a couple more on the list. Like, did you really want to pick
I mean,
any of them?
The WWE one was just kind of a laugh.
Yes.
I mean, obviously the big one is Square Enix because, right?
I'll get the WWE one too. Like, I think that's funny. You're right. It is funny. I'll put that.
As long as they go as cheesy as, right?
Yeah.
Because this could be either really dull or really awesome, and there's no in between.
Right.
But
And one
also
spot.
WWE has had a history of very bad games recently as well.
I I can't remember. I'm sure that
Technically,
they have. I was gonna
on the
say
on a technical level, like all sorts of glitchy, buggy, just turned out mess.
I'm sure they've had a good game. I just can't remember one. Right. Like I know there's been a lot of WWE games. Statistically speaking, at least one or two of them would have been good, but
Hmm.
I've never played a good one. The only quote unquote wrestling game I've ever played that I liked was Rumble Roses. And I mean, let's be very clear, it was just for the tits.
Hmm.
Like if you, Rage, or the listener who's hearing this when Fraken content comes around, have never heard of Rumble Roses Double X, just go Google it or look up some YouTube footage. 15 years ago, that was some hot stuff. Now it just looks weird because it was one of those games that had weird jiggle physics, like over exaggerated jiggle physics, and like
Like a certain
just
volleyball series.
like a certain volleyball series, and disproportionate, like physical body sizes, which, you know, I mean, I'm still into, but it looks real silly. It's not like looking at some like hentai or some really well done like fan servicey like sexy art of a hypersexualized character. It just looks real silly because it was the mid to late 2000s. The pixels were still pretty pointy. We didn't quite
Hmm.
have Lara Croft's pyramid boobs of the 90s, but they weren't perfectly round and symmetrical either.
I don't know where to go with that.
All the way down, baby.
No,
That's what? Fair
bad
enough.
touch. Bad touch.
Speaking of that sexy book, my last resort is to just go look in the file manager and see where the hell it went to. Because surely it'll be in my downloads from the other day. Yep, there it is. Cree Captivity is what it's called. And it's got a sexy purple man on the front cover, but it's all about hot gay alien sex. On the cover, massive, domineering, arrogant as hell, with a wicked streak that'll rock a guy's world. Cree Captivity, the Naira Chronicles. It's an Amazon bestseller.
Yeah, but that's a pretty low bar these days with how split off Amazon does their top lists, right?
Yeah, fair enough, but still, it's
Yeah, for some reason I was thinking this Microsoft one was a different one that I saw this week, but yeah, this is still important.
all right. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 news topics. Plus, we each have a game, and then Discovery Queue. Does that do us?
I think so. I was just reading the Microsoft one because, like I said, I grabbed the wrong link. It's still, you know, one I'd want to talk about. It wasn't the one I was expecting.
Yeah, fair enough. If The Sims 3 is running on the same engine, or Sims 4 is running on the same engine as Sims 3,
Mm.
I'll look that up while you're finishing up what you're doing.
Yeah, I'm finished up.
Okay.
The Microsoft one's actually really interesting. So supposedly it was a brand new engine.
Okay. All right. Do you have Audacity pulled up?
I do need to grab it. Hang on. I was doing other things and uh, had not grabbed Audacity.
It's all good.
I blame being distracted by spreadsheets uh,
Spreadsheets in
gi-
space.
and giant spiders and yeah, the spaghetti that is my uh, uh, conveyor lines.
Fair enough. I don't like the spiders in Satisfactory.
There's actually an arachnophobia mode.
Doesn't it replace them with a cat JPEG?
Yes, which is hilarious.
I haven't played since that was implemented. That's so I don't think I've ever. No, I've seen screenshots of it actually.
Yeah, well, let's put it this way. Uh, I was trying to get to the oil, uh, and turns out, um, yeah, spider nest. Just doped out of that. Decided gonna head off to another one as soon as I fix my steel production. Basically, I just need to add one more foundry. I realized, and this is why I had to, look at a map. I thought I had tapped all the iron reserves in the south, but I hadn't.
Yeah,
Because the way the map pings, it can be a little bit tough to figure out. So if I had all four of the iron deposits down there running, I would have my steel production pretty much balanced, minus the occasional bar of steel coming in from my secondary location.
right.
Uh, why do I have a feeling that I'm going to be like a catalyst of people playing Satisfactory?
You might be. All right. Now are you ready?
Yes.
All right. Ready to record in 3, 2, 1. Record. And for the sync, 3,
2,
1. Sync.
sync. Seemed like we got that one pretty good. So it's only downhill from here.
Right. Craig is going to crash. I'm going to crash. More of my hard drives are going to crash. Oh, I forgot to talk about that. For Franken stuff. I'll talk about it for Franken stuff.
Okay.
So before we start recording, one more story. So the other day, it was on Saturday. I went to boot my PC and it wouldn't boot. It would just sit on a black screen and it had in the bottom right hand corner was, I think it was C9 or A9, something
miss.
like that. Oh no. But it just said C9. So I Googled it and there were a bunch of different things. Like it could be this, it could be that. But the most common thing was like there's something wrong with your USB controller. And I'm like, well, that's not good. And so one of the most common fixes, people are like, just unplug everything that you can USB and see if your computer boots. And if it does, start plugging in your peripherals, additional peripherals every reboot until you find what it is that's causing the problem. So it turns out I have 3 external hard drives that are, external drives that are causing the problem, causing it to throw that error and not boot up. One of them is definitely dead. I've got a pair of 4 terabyte drives that I bought in 2014 to serve as backups and additional storage back when my computer was a wee, inexpensive, unassuming little budget gaming PC. And I was like, we're going to do the home networking thing, and I'm going to back up my data and your data and everyone's data. And I did. But, their purpose has kind of shifted over the years. They still do backups, but they're just a pair of mirrored drives with all of our important information and photos and videos and all of that jazz. I'm pretty sure it's had a head crash. Because whenever you power it on, you can hear that ticking noise.
Oh, that's not good. That's what Adidas hard drive was actually doing.
So it's dead. I saved all my data though because I've got another pair, this time of 2 terabyte external hard drives that I bought 3 or 4 years ago. I did some IT work on the side, and for some like weird projects I was trying to get into at the time, and I wound up just not needing them, but I kept them because they're decent quality Western Digital hard drives. So I expect them to last for a few years of service as long as they don't get chucked around too hard. So I plugged those up, backed up my backups, so that's good. Then I've got a trio of drives that are in cheap Amazon enclosures because these are sort of hand-me-down drives, either like someone that I knew had a machine who died, and they were like, you take these things, you take it, and you deal with it. I don't want to deal with this. So they would give it to me, or like I haven't done it in a while, but I have been to a few business foreclosures and bought, the Boxo computer parts. And a lot of times I'll rebuild those and donate them to local charities or whatever. And occasionally I'll cherry pick something out of it that I'm like, oh, that's neat, or useful. So I've got 2 SSDs, 220 gigabyte SSDs, and one 500 gigabyte hard drive, that I have put in external, just cheap enclosures. And both of the SSDs are throwing the USB logic controller error. So I'm hoping that it's just the enclosures, like the PCB in the enclosure is faulty or died or somehow got damaged when we moved. Because it's nice having a couple of, external SSDs like that. I mean, yes, I could rip open my machine. I could replace the drives that are my internal drives with higher capacity ones, or switch over my my 2 terabyte internal drive from a hard disk to an SSD. And eventually I'll do that if I don't build a new computer before that happens. But that's work. It's a lot of work. Plugging in something to USB is much easier.
Yeah.
So,
and less prone of just killing your system. I should know that one.
Yeah. But, an SSD over USB 3.0 or 3.1 will still get you about 300 to 400 megabytes. Is it megabits or megabytes for hard drive or for drive speeds? I think it's megabytes. 3 to 400 megabytes of
both could actually be used.
Fair enough, but of sequential reads and writes, and then your randoms are still, higher than you could get with a hard disk, even an internal hard disk. So it's like, I mean, that's good enough. I play single player games mostly. Pulling the data off of the drive really fast doesn't affect very much most of the time. So running those over USB 3.0 or 3.1 or, a newer standard is fine.
Yeah, and I just wanted to double check myself. Megabytes are the more common one.
Okay.
Although megabits gives you that big number, and people like big numbers.
Yeah. So that's my hardware story. I haven't had a chance to try to dissect the problem because I've got an external drive reader where that you just can plug a drive into it over USB, and so I'm going to take them all apart. I'm not, I can hear the ticking sound. There's a 99.9% chance that drive is dead. But if I can even get it to read once, I might see if I could do something with it, just for funsies. But I really hope those 2 SSDs are fine. I mean, SSDs do eventually die. If they're cheap, low quality. I mean, even a good high quality one will eventually die because the chemical process that makes an SSD work, you can only do that so many times. But, you're talking about sometimes, millions or tens of millions of read and write cycles. Like, they have an extremely long lifespan unless you're just thrashing those drives day in and day out. But they do eventually die. So it's possible that they're cheap, these are just like cheap drives. They could be lower quality silicon, or, they could have been a lemon or something, or
or
maybe I have
gamma
used those drives.
radiation.
Yeah, or gamma radiation, or
No,
maybe I have
I'm not
used them.
joking. That there is a case of a an election having an incorrect result because of a single bit being flipped.
Interesting, but it is also possible that I'm thrashing these drives more than I realize because they're several years old, and some games, like playing games off of them, some games will go back to the drive and rewrite bunches of data, um, or a whole bunch of data.
Yeah,
Who
so since
knows?
we're doing hardware stories, I'll go ahead and give mine for a little bit more Fraken content. And hey, we should have a Fraken show already, right?
Yay! All right, so
So,
next week we're gonna take off, right?
well, with
No,
how things have
carry on.
been going, yeah.
We might. All right, go
Okay,
ahead.
so I had a slight issue with my phone. As in, well, I dropped my phone, which, you know, clumsy, right?
Whoopsie.
And I didn't really notice that my case had been broken. Like right there at the corner, there was just a hairline crack.
Yeah.
In the case I was using, it was a two-piece design, so that the inner side of it was now misaligned, and now the power buttons was not wanting to align up right. Well, didn't really think that much of it. Just, oh well, my case is fucked. I'll get a new case, and it'll be fine. And didn't bother taking the phone out of the case until the new case arrived. A few days later. That's when I discovered, the back of the phone's a little loose and actually kind of bulging. That's bad. Not sure if this was the cause of the case breaking, but we'll get to that. So well, and it's also not wanting to just close back together properly. So open it up a bit more and start looking at it. Watched a little bit of Jerry Rig everything about the teardown the Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus, to get a little bit of familiarity with things, and noticed that, the charging coil on my phone, it's not laying flat like it should on top of the battery. It's kind of sticking up. And notice that the battery is slightly domed. Not full angry Capri Sun, but just slightly.
Angry Capri Sun. I like that.
It's one I've stolen off line that, but it's the truth, right?
Yeah.
So, oh, okay, so download AccuBattery and take a look at like capacity and that sort of thing, and see that, it may just be age. It may be I babied it a little too much, which sometimes could cause issues, or I just had a lemon, because there's always that possibility. And
Yeah.
I was down a third of my battery capacity. Mind you, I've had this phone for 3 years now. It's completely paid off now. So, what to do? Start looking online. I can get a new battery, but that doesn't really come with all of the parts I need, because also need the adhesive and everything else, because right.
Yep.
So went over to iFixit and saw they had a kit, especially for the Samsung Galaxy. Thought, okay, well, it's $50 after shipping, but it has all the tools I need and everything else. Because I didn't have drivers that small, and well, you've worked in phones, those screws are tiny.
They're so small. Tiny boys.
Uh, and it came with the entire kit. The suction cup, which I don't need because, hey, the tough part's already been done for me. It backs off, right? Or mostly off.
You know what? Good point.
So, at this point, it was, even if the battery wasn't on its way out, I'd be tempted to swap it out because, tough part of swapping out a battery is cracking open that fucker, right?
Yep.
So, bought a kit, got it the next week. So it was a little touch and go on okay, I don't want to squeeze this phone too much because I don't want the it to go all Galaxy Note on me, right?
Yeah.
I got the kit actually last week, uh, and this was actually the day that we were supposed to record, and shit went down, which right.
Yeah.
Uh, Decided, okay, well, I'll do it this evening. And it took me about twice as long as I had thought it would because, a lot of tiny parts, a lot of cursing under my breath, trying to, not break things because, right? Scraping off old adhesive because the kit actually came with essentially a adhesive gasket that completely replaced the old adhesive. But I actually took my phone apart, replaced the battery, got it back together, and everything works. The speakers work, which I have to completely remove to get to the battery. The wireless charging coil still works, and it felt fucking awesome.
Nice. Yeah, working on phones is a nightmare. They're so small and so finicky.
The worst thing on this, since I didn't have to take the back cover off, which the toolkit actually has a really interesting solution for that. So you know how typically it's like a hairdryer or a heat gun?
Yeah.
This has a gel-filled thing that you put in the microwave and heat up. And then just put it on the phone and use it as a heat source. I was going through the toolkit before, getting started. It's like, what the hell is this supposed to be? Because it's like 3 or 4 different boxes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I get the actually rather substantial spudgers out of it. And I'm not wanting to rip into this other thing because it looks pretty well sealed. It's like, what the fuck is this? And then I see eye opener. So look on their site because I just got they pretty much every time they sell the battery, they sell it with the entire opening kit and everything else with it.
Yeah.
And I just really wanted the little drivers, the little screwdriver. Or it's actually a plastic screwdriver with a couple bits because, right?
Yeah.
I wasn't convinced that what precision screwdrivers I had was small enough. So that's what I was mainly concerned about. And okay, maybe a couple of guitar pick spudgers because, right? And I'm looking at the kit like, okay, what is this thing supposed to be? And it says, and then I click on the hyperlink for the eye opener, and they showed this, thermal opening tool, and have a video on how it's used. It's like, okay, that's fucking awesome. That's such a great solution to having to have a heat gun.
Yeah, because lots of people don't have heat. I don't have a heat gun, actually.
Even a hair dryer, it's tough to get a hair dryer that's hot enough.
Yeah.
Because you have to get the phone pretty warm for that adhesive to soften. So the fact that they came up with that solution, I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
So I fix it. Not a sponsorship. I paid for this myself, but I was just impressed.
Yeah.
They had plenty of instructions on all the steps. And honestly, a little bit of a community going around as well, explaining some of the more cumbersome steps.
Yeah.
Like one of the things is they had a little eyedropper that you use rubbing alcohol to help soften up the adhesive under the spicy sun, and then pry it out. And somebody mentioned be very careful not to use too much, otherwise you could damage the front-facing camera.
Yeah. I've got the iFixit Essential Electronics Toolkit, like the one that's I think it's $25.
Yeah, I'll probably get one of their full toolkits later on.
Yeah. I already had several screwdriver sets.
Mm-hmm.
So when I bought it, I specifically wanted the different spudgers and the suction cup and it's
Yeah,
got like tweezers.
yeah. This didn't have tweezers in it, but it had the gel heat up uh, uh thingamabob. A handle for a precision driver with three different very fine bits. The suction cup, a guitar pick style of spudgers, then a more like a crowbar style spudger,
Yeah,
and there was also a. Actually, it might have been a a, a, a set of tweezers. It had a protective cap on the top,
yeah,
and I just never opened it up because I didn't feel like I needed it because right.
yeah.
But yeah,
So
it was like $30, but with shipping, yeah, right.
yeah,
Oh no, it was a pair of tweezers. They did include a pair of very fine tweezers that didn't really need because it was only just one, thing.
still, it was very nice of them.
hmm I mean, honestly, I'm looking at their essential electronics toolkit, the what you said you got.
Yeah,
The thing that I'm just looking at the contents. The only thing that they didn't include was okay. So they had more bits in that kit than what they included in with just the Galaxy battery. Uh, they included they included the suction cup in the set of six. Well, I've been calling them guitar picks. Yeah, the triangular ones.
yeah,
They included those as well. The only thing that they didn't really include outside of just not as many bits is that very knife-like spudger.
yeah. I've had that kit for a while now.
hmm
They occasionally, well, I actually don't know how frequent it is. I have seen it sometimes being offered on sale or with a discount from like TechTuber sponsorships. I've
hmm
seen it from time to time, and they had a, I think it was Linus Tech Tips had a $5 off if you use their code to buy the essential toolkit. I was like, you know what? I have frequent enough use for like a good set of spudgers and like some plastic tweezers, um, and it never hurts to have an extra screwdriver with really common electronic bits.
hmm
So let me just pick that up. It's sitting in the my little like quick grab basket in my closet in here.
Yeah. So I pretty much have a good like 2/3 of that kit already.
Yeah. So
So
you
yeah, I was just really pleased that I was able to fix my phone and not destroy it like I did my computer.
right? I'm very proud of you, sir. Yay, you did it.
Considering it was a hell of a lot more stressful.
Yeah.
Let's just put it this way: I had like all these little food containers around me with screws and components that they went with because it was pull up the speaker with I think like 8 screws or 9 screws, and then pull out the wireless charging coil and NFC reader that was another like 10 screws.
Yeah. So many tiny screws.
And
I've got a
and each set of screws were different from the other, so you couldn't just collect them.
yeah. I've got a couple of magnetic bowls, which they're just little like tiny bowls that have magnets on the bottom.
hmm
Like it's on the bottom side of the bowl, so that you can put screws and stuff in the bowl, and they'll stay in there. I've only got two though, so I have to be careful if I'm working with something like a phone or a tablet, because, like you just said, so many different types of screws. You can't just grab them willy nilly.
hmm
But yeah, you ready to go do our show?
I think
The
so.
the show proper.
Yeah. Do we have enough for good content for now?
I think so. Cut all the blank spaces. We'll still have like 15 to 20 minutes. which is enough for a short Franken episode. Combine it with the rest of what's in the backlog. You get like a 35-minute Franken episode. We're good, baby.
Woo! Okay, next week off.
Sweet.
Play some Satisfactory. Get Steelworks up and running.
Absolutely. I will work on my Sims some more.
Yeah. Meanwhile, you have me looking at magnetic trays. Ooh, there's a nice one.
Yeah, these were given to me as a gift. They're just one of them has got like a city, like the picture of like a city skyline on it. And then the other one is just a plain tiny red bowl.
Well, I found one that's different types. There's 8-piece 3-inch bowls, magnetic, for $21.
Nice. Yeah, it makes perfect sense to me that there would be well-made sets of these or whatever.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's well made, but yeah. Right.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. But makes sense that somebody would make them.
And then anyway, there's like larger, long trays in this as well that has indents. So I might look into getting some of those for my kits because, right?
Yeah,
it's a good idea.